How much money you need to travel to Cuba for 2 weeks or 2 people in different budget? This was a question that I asked you guys for in my Instagram account, and this one specifically was one of the best because I know that there's so many people who want to visit Cuba now that things like have changed a little more, and you want to visit Cuba. Maybe you're traveling with a couple, maybe you're traveling alone. Just let me know in the comments below because I can suggest you right now so many videos that I have about it. But in this case, we're going to be diving into a budget for different people, like couples. If you're traveling with a friend, we're going to be diving into that. And make sure that guys, that you have something book like this where you have your notes. Full disclaimer guys, prices might change over time. The point of this video is to make you understand a little more how is Cuba doing right now. I'm going to split up this video. I'm going to try to help you with different budgets, like a minimum budget that you will need for this 15 days that you're going to spend here in Cuba, or a little more wide budget if you're coming with a lot of money, or you want to spend a good time in Cuba. We're going to be talking in Canadian dollars, USD, euros, and when I say pesos, I mean Cuban pesos. Those are the currencies. For example, if I say 200, it's going to be 200 euros, could be 200 USD, it could be 200 Canadian dollar or 200 pounds. Now, when I say 200 pesos, is because the things that you're going to be paying in Cuba are going to be in Cuban pesos. Traveling to Cuba, 2 people, is amazing because you can split things, you can share things, and the accommodation is one of the things that you're going to be paying. But when it comes to traveling as a couple, is amazing because you're going to be paying only per night. So let's say that you can find a room for 35 or 40 bucks. You're going to be paying $4 between 2 people. In Cuba, you could find a good accommodation for 30, 35, 40, or even 45 per night. I think you should know, guys, that the comfort of the places that you're going to find are going to be pretty basic. If you're looking for something really luxurious, or a luxury hotel like hostel, something like that, prices are going to be over 250 per night. In this case, what most people do is that if they come to Cuba and they're looking for some luxury place like this, for example, they're not going to come for 15 days. They're going to come maybe for 7 days because they come for short vacations, business trips, and this kind of trips. On the other hand, these luxury hotels accommodation, they don't include the breakfast sometimes. So this is something that you have to consider if you want to get a luxury place like this, because you need to pay a little bit more just in case you want to get lunch. Another thing that I have here as a bullet point is that these places must include laundry. Overall, you can go from a price to another one, but the things that are going to be involved are going to be completely different. It's going to be very contrasting. I think that it depends about what you want to do. If you want to get involved with a community in Cuba, so you can get an Airbnb, super basic stuff right here in Cuba, or you can maybe go a little bit more out of that zone and you can get like a private house or private Airbnb where things are going to be a little bit more luxurious, but at the same time you're going to have a little bit more accommodation in the best way. Now let's talk about the second point, which is the food. And I think the food is one of the most important things when it comes to visiting Cuba. Why? Because it's one of the most expensive things that you're going to be spending money in. So what I will highly recommend you guys is to plan a budget for eating. In this case, breakfast. If the place that you're going to be staying in do not include the breakfast, plan a budget for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. We're going to be talking about that. In the regular budget, you can find a restaurant where you can spend 2,500 pesos per 2 people. That's going to be a meal that is going to include the appetizer, the main course, 2 drinks, and a coffee. And the food that you're going to get is pretty basic, but at the same time it's really good. Actually, Veronica and I, my wife, we went to a place few days ago and it was amazing. Now if we're looking for a little more Cuban food, Cuban restaurant, most of these are going to be in the old town right here in Havana, and prices might change. But think about that, 2,500 pesos, I think is going to be pretty well. Now if you do the math, this is going to cost you 7,500 pesos per day, which is a lot of money. But I think that's a very good budget, because if you find something cheaper that can drive you to another place, you're going to have money enough to save a little more, and then you can spend that money on other things, like the next point that we're going to be talking about. Now if you're a little bit more picky and you're looking for some luxury place, remember guys, the prices in Cuba might change, but think about like having double the price that I already mentioned it, because you can find a meal for 2,500 pesos, but you can find a plate for 1,000 pesos. Now moving to the next point, which is the transportation. And this is another crazy pricey stuff that you can be paying in Cuba, but I'm gonna give you some tips. I have right here, because I did this planning like you were going outside. I mean, outside of the place you're gonna be staying in right here in Havana or Cuba in general, like a couple times. You're not gonna spend the 15 days you're gonna be going outside all the time. Of course not. But you can get a colectivo or a private taxi, and prices here changes a lot, right? So every day, but I recommend you guys to think about 2,000 pesos in taxi, okay? It covers almost everything. 2,000 pesos is going to be okay, and it's going to be daily. I mean, 2,000 pesos daily, because let's say that you want to get outside of the house that you're staying. Let's say that you're staying in Havana, and you're staying in the old town. You want to get a cab, a taxi, to Havana, to, I don't know, Tropicana. It's gonna cost you maybe 500 pesos or even more. Taxi is one of the most expensive things that you're gonna pay in Cuba. And if the taxi drivers knows that you are a tourist, they're gonna charge you more. It's pretty sad, but that's how Cuba works, okay? So for people who wants to rent a car or personal driver 24/7, I have right here, the prices might be over 200 per day. I know it might sound pricey. Again, this is how Cuba's working right now. You can find a cheaper price or you can find a little bit more expensive. It's up to you guys, but this is what I have in my list. This is a price where you can find something comfortable. Of course, that you can do like seven days by using a taxi or by renting a car, and then the rest of the days, the other week, you're going to be using public transportation because you don't want to be spending money. If you have this budget, that's up to you. It depends about your needs, okay? The next point that I have right here is fun. Again, if you're coming to Cuba, you want to go to the nightclubs, you want to see how the Cuban nightlife is, which is amazing, by the way. But this is where I talk about drinking, going a tour, or just, you know, going outside to the nightclub. I know, again, they're not going to be partying every single day unless you're drunk, unless you want to get a lot of alcohol in your blood. But if you're planning to come to Cuba, let me know in advance how many days, or plan. Just let me know, because we're not talking. I talked to the camera like if we were talking. Can you believe this? I'm just crazy, you know. And now I'm gonna give you like a regular budget about how prices are in these nightclubs, so you can have an idea about how much you're gonna be spending here. Think about 5,000 pesos, Cuban pesos. This is a budget that you can use anytime if you want to get outside, if you want to get, I don't know, drinks, or even if you want to buy a bottle of rum or a bottle of, or I don't know what type of alcohol to drink. It's going to be more than enough. Now, this is only one night. If you want to go outside maybe 3 nights because you want to spend a weekend partying, having fun, and getting drunk, you're gonna be spending a lot of money. Now, the next point that I want to talk to you guys about is other activities. Which, of course, that if you're visiting Cuba for 15 days, you're not going to spend 15 days in Havana unless you get crazy or unless you're falling in love with Havana, you don't want to move on. Now, this is where transfers comes in. And when I thought about these main activities, I was thinking about visiting like the main cities. And I will say, guys, that in general, most of the cities right here in Cuba have the same prices, even though Havana, for so many reasons, is a little bit more expensive. Of course, prices are not going to be the same, but even though, let's say you want to move from Havana to another place, I always recommend you to get Via Azul or a taxi. The taxi is an extremely expensive option, and Via Azul is the cheapest, but you're going to be sharing the bus with so many people. I don't have a budget for this, because it really depends about you. You would need to tell me, Alex, we want to go from Havana to Varadero, from Varadero to Ciudad Vila, from Ciudad Vila to Trinidad, and then come back to Havana. Now I can tell you guys how much you're going to be spending on this. If you're planning to visit Cuba and you would love to have a crazy experience right here by sharing with the locals and visiting historical places and touristic destinations, that's completely fine. I can help you with that. And I can help you guys to book or arrange almost everything here in Cuba, but we need to do it in time. So if you will love visiting Cuba, I can help you with that. Make sure you subscribe to the channel and hit the like button so the YouTube algorithm is going to work and can recommend this video to more people. If you want to know, guys, more about how to travel to Cuba, if you want to get more travel tips, go and check this playlist right here, where I was giving you guys not only tips, but you can also watch some other videos about how the local life is. Again, my name is Alex Rodriguez. It was a pleasure having you here, and see all your smiling faces. Chao pescado with a picadillo.